What is up, dorks? For those of you that are avid SF5 watchers, tournament watchers to be specific, you know that CPT Japan 2 just happened. The qualifier for Capcom Cup in Japan, the second one out of 4, and Higuchi, young Japanese player, 20 years old, plays Guile, actually took it, but he's not the one that we're talking about this video. The player that we're talking about, his name is Neneshi, and his bracket was kind of insane. So this is the player right here, Neneshi. It's in Japanese. And you'll see that he had to play Ryusei and Nauman to make winners finals of his pool. And he defeated both of them. Ryusei, an EVO champion in Blaze Blue. Not Street Fighter, but still a very strong competitor, very strong Street Fighter 5 player. Nauman actually an EVO Japan 2019 champion. So you might be thinking, Neneshi must be like this solid Japanese player that you just haven't heard of because he's from Japan. But that's not what I saw when I watched those matches, and let me tell you, I was dumbfounded. I just could not believe that Ryusei lost to this guy. I didn't understand how Neneshi beat him. I didn't understand how Neneshi beat Nauman, let alone both of them in the same tournament. So what I'm thinking is, let's watch the matches a second time together, and we will get to the bottom of this and see how this player was actually able to defeat 2 EVO champions in his CPT Japan run. Alright, so this is the first game. Ryusei versus Neneshi. The ugliest Colleen costume in the game, first of all. And already from Neneshi, we've seen multiple special moves. A V skill, punishable on block, -8. And he seemed like your typical, like, just kind of do whatever ranked monster that will just, you know, spam special moves, do unsafe things, and they might get you. But if you're a solid player like Ryusei is, tournament player, EVO champion, you won't let all this unsafe stuff fly, all these vanity steps. There's 3 different versions of vanity step. Right? There's heavy, which jumps, medium, which goes back and forth, and light, which can go into a stab. The stab, very unsafe, but you might see it later on. He also uses V-Trigger 1, which is by far worse than V-Trigger 2. But he uses it so that he can, this is kind of his signature style, he just does vanity steps as much as possible, and you can cancel the EX vanity step stab into V-Trigger 1. So you can see Neneshi's style just isn't really working. It looks like he just, I feel like he just gets cleaned up this game. And you would not think that Neneshi actually goes on to win this set. So as I was saying before, like, Neneshi's playstyle is very risky, right? He's doing these special moves like V skill, which is -8, so it's punishable by a button from Urian, I think from any distance. He's using vanity steps, like that one even got punished by the fireball. The medium one, it has no invincibility when it goes back and forth. It can be hit. The heavy one that jumps, it can be anti-aired, but he just keeps mixing them all up in a way that's kind of hard to deal with. But a good player normally is able to kind of suppress this kind of playstyle and punish you for the risks that you're taking. You know, risk reward is like a very important thing in fighting games, right? Like, you take as little risk as possible, and you seek the things with like the highest reward possible for taking the least risk. But the things that Neneshi is doing, all these vanity steps, like, that's punishable. Very low chance it'll work, but he's doing it on the chance that it does. Ryusei misses the punish on that vanity step. He's just mixing up between light vanity step stab and then medium vanity step, and then Ryusei is like, oh my god, I don't want to get hit by the stab, so I'm just gonna block. And then she does the medium version instead. But then, you know, he tries to punish the medium version and he hits him with the stab part of it. And there's actually, I mean, that the EX versions are very hard to deal with, so that one, you know, is just kind of, sometimes you get hit by it. Yeah, the goal as a player, I think, is to have a strategy, at least in my opinion, that works consistently, and that's by having like less, like very risk-averse type of gameplay, not trying to take very many risks. But this is the opposite. Like, I'm sure some of you saw the results. You saw this Colleen player was destroying all of these strong Japanese players. They must be very solid. They're Japanese. Japanese players are solid. But this guy is doing light vanity step stab. That's super punishable. I think there's no range where you can make that safe. But he just keeps doing it, and somehow Ryusei is losing. I can't even explain it anymore. Because it seemed like he was in such control the first game and a half. And then suddenly Neneshi started doing more risky things and he couldn't keep up anymore. Yeah, Kawano I feel like plays a lot like me or like Punk. Or like really any other top player does. Like he just plays footsies and then you'll see him take risks like dash parry or like sweep on wake up. But that's when like he needs to make something happen. Like if he's at an 80% life deficit and he needs the hit, maybe he'll go for the dash parry, because at that point you're not risking much because most likely you're going to lose the round anyways. But here Neneshi is at full life and doing light kick vanity step stab over and over again. Like I think each round he just does it like 10 times. If you see a Colleen playing like that, just pick Sagat. I mean, I feel like it doesn't really matter what character. You're not playing against a player, a matchup at this point. You're playing against just a constant mind game of if they're going to do stab or vanity step, which is not in Colleen's favor, but somehow Neneshi's making it work. And I know Ryusei at this point, this is one of 4 chances to qualify for Capcom Cup, the World Championships at the end of the year. One has already passed. If he doesn't qualify out of this one, there's only 2 more. And he's about to lose to this random Colleen player that's just doing like vanity step stab over and over again. So, you know, Ryusei's definitely not feeling too good about this. Like, look at how much life Neneshi is losing because he just keeps doing vanity step, which has no invincibility unless you're doing the EX version. And then he just parries right there. I don't know how Ryusei got hit by that. That's not a mix-up. Takes the throw, and Neneshi is so close to winning this game. And then stab, and Ryusei was so frustrated at that point. He just did the headbutt. It was not going to work from that range. I think if he was more composed, he would have realized that it would not work. And just like that, Neneshi takes it, right? That was the second game that he won, I believe. And it's a first of 2 in pools. Only in top 8 is a first of 3. But that's it. Ryusei was knocked into loser's bracket. And, you know, watching it the second time, I still don't really understand how Ryusei like wasn't able to deal with it, because he just kept doing like vanity step stab, and that's punishable. Ryusei was punishing it, he was baiting it out, but somehow he still lost. So Neneshi is just some kind of genius, it seems like, at this kind of play style. And I feel like for some kinds of players, like this kind of play style is just like how their most optimal way of playing. Like there is like, I think, an optimal way of playing that is risk averse, but I think that it doesn't work out the best for some people. I think like Eita, you know, the Ken player from Japan that just DPs and does random stuff all the time, like I think that's his optimal playstyle. I think for Neneshi, this is also like his optimal playstyle. Just like trying to get in people's heads even though it's not really in his favor. But since he's the one doing it and he's used to it, he's able to like somehow like make it in his favor from like playing the mind games. So this is Nauman, one of the strongest players in Japan. He won EVO Japan straight with punish from the start on the Stand Fierce with Sakura's light kick. And is Neneshi gonna do the same thing to Nauman? Because Nauman looks like he's in control too, but this is just how Ryusei started, right? Ryusei started just like winning. EX stab, V trigger. He only has one use of his V trigger left. Not using V trigger 2, just V trigger 1. One throw will do it from Nauman. He goes for the shimmy. Doesn't actually do the DP, which would have killed. But this is way too hard for Neneshi to make this comeback. He goes for an overhead from like half screen away. The overhead would not even have hit all the way. I think it would have only done like one hit max from there. So I'm not like... and the likelihood of it hitting was not very high. It's inspiring calling play. That's punishable. I think it's inspiring because it shows you that you don't have to play like a specific way always, you know. You can turn up the random if you want and still get wins. And I think that's pretty important because like people always say like there's not any room for expression in Street Fighter V. This is expression right here. If this isn't some kind of... he's expressing something, I don't know what. He's expressing that he likes vanity step. I mean, I like vanity step too, but every time I do it, I get hit, right? If I just start doing light kick vanity step stab, and my opponent blocks it, they're gonna think I'm stupid. Like, why'd you do that? And I'm gonna be like, I'm never doing that again. But Neneshi does it once, it gets blocked. Does it the second time. Alright, that's actually -8. That target combo, the medium vanity step into crouch medium punch, heavy punch target combo is -8 on block. But he's just doing it because if it hits, he gets a combo from it. He's only thinking about the reward, not the risk. And he's only picking this V trigger because that way his EX vanity step stab into V trigger is safe. Even though V trigger 2 is like the more... Look at that! How did that make sense? He would have died if that got blocked. And Nauman is so like out of his element. And when I saw this the first time, that's like the most unfortunate. He did heavy vanity step, double jump into like the most easy to anti-air thing, but sometimes things are so easy to punish that you just don't punish them. And Neneshi just steals that one. Because if he got anti-aired there, he was dead. Like, Nauman had plenty of time to air-to-air him, jump medium punch, EX Tatsu, try like a light DP, crouch fierce, like time it better. But that just didn't happen. He creates problems, not solve them. I think that's a good way of putting it. Like a lot of players, myself included, we're just looking at the other player as like a problem to solve. Like how do I get in? How do I open him up? But Neneshi is just being the problem that the other player has to solve. The double jump mix-up kind of like Oro. It's not really a mix-up though because the double jump takes so long. You could see her just like floating up there for so long. Lucky back throw right there, and Nauman right now is scared. He's down one game against Neneshi. And you know, this kind of play style is very volatile, right? Like you would think you would win the majority of games against it. But if there's just one game left to lose, then you're scared. He has meter to do it again, so he's going to. Command grab. And suddenly he's just like looking very strong. Nauman's so scared he's just not doing anything. He's kind of letting Neneshi walk all over him. Because of like this fear in this first to 2 kind of setting. Like I don't think if this was a first to 10, Nauman would be as scared as he is, as hesitant, because like he would understand that the risk reward is in his favor in a first to 10, because if he tries to check the medium vanity, maybe he gets hit with the stab a couple times, but it'll like even out into his favor. But since there's only 1 game left, every guess is so important. And that's why this is so scary. Like, that's not even a combo mid-screen. If he's closer, maybe. If he's like point blank and he does a fierce crush counter, maybe that would have worked. But he was just going for it. And this is actually GG. That's death. Like, it's clear Neneshi knows what he's doing. Like, he knows he's very optimal with Colleen and like his combos, and once he gets you to the corner, he's able to like lock you down. But his neutral play is so different from what you normally see, and it's just hard to understand. I think watching this again, I understand better. I think Nauman and Ryusei just got so scared after the first game. Nauman especially, since he was supposed to win the first game, and then he just got robbed. The second game, he was just way too scared to try and check anything. But yeah, Neneshi with the V-Trigger 1, with his light kick vanity step stabs. Like, the number of times he did light kick vanity step stab is probably, in like those 2 matches, is probably higher than the amount of times that I do that move in neutral in like a whole year. Like, it's I never use that move because it's so, the risk reward is so bad, but he's able to make it work. If you like that analysis, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube. But yeah, this was definitely just a fun match, if nothing else, that most people didn't see because Neneshi didn't make top 16. He got 17th place after losing to Dogra and losers. So I'm just glad I could share this magical, inspiring Colleen play with the rest of you.